Ooh.
That's a good one too.
The flow, the flow. What role does leadership play in creating a culture of learning? Literally flows from what we were just
it's
saying.
just exactly everything. If you don't have leadership, you don't have anything.
Mm.
Because you're creating something. As a trainer,
Mhm.
we have worked on that. We have created content for training content.
Mhm. I want for this conversation, I want us to focus on leadership and how they show up in forming, in contributing, or taking away from
Mm-hmm.
a culture of learning. Because I think it's important for our listeners, for the stakeholders to understand the impact that leadership can have on brand culture overall, and especially where it comes to training, learning, and development.
Mm-hmm. It is important that, let's say you're a trainer.
Mm-hmm.
So you're in charge of creating this training program.
Mm-hmm.
Have you been told exactly what the expectations are? Do you know what the company really wants? Or it's kind of like open? Are you able to have that feedback? Going back to that communication, that honest, open, and transparent communication.
Yeah.
That you can go and say, hey, okay, so this is what it is. This is what we have. But you still need to know what you have, right? In order to create that. But if your leader is not open to that, if it's not listening to you, to the people who are on the field, to the franchisees, to the team, and having all that information, they said, this is what we need. It's not what I think. It's not a me thing.
Yes. What does the data say? And that is such an important part to any conversation. Remember the critical question I had mentioned earlier was, how are decisions made around here? And that question feeds into this one, because when it comes to leadership, when you have an idea, when there is a concern, when there is a change that needs to happen, what structures, what processes, what things do we have in place to receive that and to process that?
Especially like now, because you have to look at time, right? I've seen a lot of times where, wow, we've been in business for this long.
Yeah.
We're doing something right.
Yeah. Especially in franchising.
That's true, right? Congratulations. But how long ago you started this business? Can you compare? Are you certain that that business model is the same right now? The competition that you have, the expectations from people, I don't know, everything else, the world has changed so drastically.
Yes.
Are you stuck in your old ways? Do you trust your team to make those decisions, to make those changes? Do you bring new people from different franchising or other businesses?
Subject matter experts.
Yes. Or is it everyone you have pretty much
just agrees with, you make a decision
and that's what it is, and nobody's going to tell you anything.
Yeah.
They're just going to let you do it, and all because that's how it is.
Yeah. That's that's tricky, because the weight of leadership, to have that responsibility of driving brand performance, leading people, showing up day in and day out, even on the days when it's really difficult to do.
Yeah.
The weight of a leader is not always easy to bear, especially during times of change. And so, what I'd like to say is, or what I think is important to bring light to right now, is pausing and asking the questions.
Trust your team.
and asking for the data. That takes the personal, I'm not going to listen to you because I don't like you, or I don't like how you speak, or I don't like how you show up, so I'm not going to give you any ear. It removes all that noise, and it helps reduce the bias that sometimes comes in to decision making, a lot of times natural. Unconsciously, right? Yeah. But when you have the data to support that, when you can say, we've had X amount of customer complaints, our franchise partners used to log in 100 times a day. Now they're only logging in 50 times a day. Our last mystery shop scores dropped from this to this. When you're able to add that context and data to the conversation, you're able to have a little bit more of the dialogue that's necessary. And then what you do with that information is what's going to feed the culture of learning, right? What you do with that information is what's going to feed the culture. So as a leader, taking a step back, asking the experts, seeking the knowledge, seeking the data, and then having the courage to share it. Share it with the people who need to hear it. It's not always everybody. It doesn't always need to go in a email, right? But having those conversations with the people who you need to hear it, and then
implement
dot.
something.
And then that gives you the opportunity to show people, hey, we acknowledge this accountability. We're, we've done some research. Here's the data. Here's the reason why we're doing it.
But if I may, Maliesa, regarding data, does the company have the system to provide accurate data? Is that data being recorded accurately? Does it really? Because that's another thing, and I'm pretty sure you've seen it. Things like food cost and labor cost and all the stuff, where it's really you're operating
junk in, junk out. That's data, right? If the information you feed it is this garbage, the data itself is garbage. So you make a really great point.
And it goes back to that. Are you training just the owner of a place, or you're training a leader that it has the responsibility to say, no, this is a business. I'm going to take care of this. I'm going to make sure that I know how much I'm spending. How much, if it's, again, restaurant food costs or parts or inventory, such an important thing in any business. Inventory. Is it being done properly?
Yeah, I think that's a great question that a lot of franchise partners and franchise owners should be asking is, do I know enough about my business and the business model that I've bought into, that I own and operate, that I represent? And we're not robots. We're not going to retain all the information all the time. But taking a moment and saying, what do I need to know right now? What do I need to learn about right now?
And who can I ask for that information?
And where can I get that information?
And is my company, my franchise supporting me on that? Do I know where to go?
If I don't know how to do inventory properly, do I know where to go to get that information, that training, that resource, that support? Yeah. Really important. That's good.
We've faced that a few times.
No, that's really important. Data driven, but only if the data is accurate.
And then you go back to the why. You go back to basics again. Why you've been in this business for 10 years and you still don't know how to do inventory? How no one has catched this? Why no one has helped you with this?
Yeah. Well, sometimes as business leaders, as long as there's money left over at the end of the month in the bank account, they believe they're successful.
Unfortunately. And all the money that they leave
on the table,
it blows my mind. It's like asking someone, would you just open your purse or your wallet and say to someone, hey, take $10,000 out of my pocket? Like, you would not do that.
Yes.
And one tiny little thing, and that's, I don't know, for me, it's so important. A lot of people might think, this piece of candy or this screw or this, I don't know, slice or whatever, the product may be 2, 3, 4, 5 a day. Sure, the food cost of that or the cost of that product might not be that high, but you're selling it for this much. So it was sold. How much was for the day? How much is for a week? How much is for the month? How much was for the year?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Small changes make big differences.
Big differences.
Especially when you can back it with data.
Yeah. Again, data.
Yeah. For those conversations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.